Welcome to a busted play. An illegal use of hands to the face short.
Thought you said the game of the year was already played.
I must have had to wait till week one was over because I don't think anything can top that.
Oh my gosh. And here I was sitting thinking, oh my gosh, my picks for this week are terrible. But you know what? I got I went I went 2 for 4 on my upsets, so maybe I shouldn't be that upset. Give me the Raiders. Yes. It's actually funny doing these games, watching these games and just being like rooting for a team because I picked them. Because
Yeah,
I was actively like, the Raiders can get back in this, like, not really, they go down 14-0, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this. And then they put a touchdown up, and I was like, okay, maybe. And from there on out, it was like, oh man, that game was wild though. That was a very fun game to watch. As long as you're a fan of neither team. If you're a fan of either team, I have to imagine your heart stopped a few times during that game, no matter which side you were rooting for.
yeah. Oh my lord. That game was something, man. If I'm a Ravens fan, I'm so ticked. That offensive line for the Ravens looked atrocious. Max Crosby was having his way with Alejandro Villanueva. I did not expect him to be that bad. Like he looked terrible out there. I don't know if it's just Villanueva being bad or Max Crosby establishing himself as one of the elite edge rushers in the NFL, but that matchup was like nothing for him. He was killing him the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, Max Crosby definitely went out there and dominated. He put on a heck of a showing. Um, I felt like somebody was going to come on this defensive line this year, and Max Crosby kind of already was on, but that like second year, he kind of had like a sophomore slump a little bit because he had a really great rookie year, and then at least in terms of like being like recognized around the league, he didn't get as much attention last year, and now, boy, he looks just about as good as any defensive end in the league one game in. So, I mean, that's saying something. But oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about in this game. Honestly, there's so many different directions to go. First, I gotta say, as you know, I am ecstatic that they decided to give Zay Jones the game-winning touchdown for absolutely no reason. There's something. I mean, they tried to give it to Willie Snead. Like neither of these guys had caught passes the entire game. Like then who's the key to actually getting the Raiders back into the game? Number 89, fake Amari Cooper, Brian Edwards.
Yeah,
No,
T.O. Jr.
yeah. No, it's just amazing. This whole game was just it was wild. What else you got? What else are you thinking about?
Man, I mean, Tucker looked good. I'm just trying to think about like stuff that I tweeted out during the game, and I mean that was like, yeah, Tucker's still automatic. Carlson, great, set a new career along, so props on him for that. And then John Gruden, just his coaching and the Raiders doing the most Raidery things of, oh yeah, we're gonna kick this 30-yard field or 34-yard field goal here just to win it. Oh, we take a delay a game here because we took too long to decide on what we were gonna do, so that gets moved back. So then we run another play.
Oh my gosh. They get the ball down at the 1 yard line, and I'm literally thinking, I'm like, how can they screw this up? It's at the 1 yard line. Like, they run the QB sneak on first down and don't get it, and I'm like, literally do that the next 3 plays, and if you don't get it, like, I don't know who's gonna be upset. Like, I don't know who's gonna be like ticked off at you that you don't get it. But no, they false start because we need to fake hike at the 1 inch line. What do you gain? What do you gain? It's it's second and goal from the half-yard line.
No, it's not second and goal because the ref said
Oh,
that
it's
the
first, yeah.
play first and 10 from the 1 yard line.
Yeah, yeah, somehow, some way. But yeah, no, it's second and goal from the half-yard line, and he's faking the hut. Like, what are you realize that you're gonna get a half the distance penalty if anything, and then
And they
it's
don't
still
move the
gonna
ball
be
at all for
second
that.
down. It's still gonna be second down. They may, depending on if it's like a half yard. But if it's like 1 inch, it's like, what can you do?
Nudge it a little bit, and then the center's just gonna be snapping it from inside the end zone.
But it's
It
literally like yeah, I don't want to like blame Alex Leatherwood because it's like what why is he faking it doesn't make there's no strategic gain to it. Literally the only thing that it can do is back you up and then the second down play goes awry and the third down play is intercepted. Oh my gosh, they really tried to screw it up right there. There's so many good things for them and so many just like what am I watching things for the Raiders.
something that serves as kind of both for that is Derek Carr treating the offense like how I would treat the Raiders if I was playing Madden and just throwing the ball to Darren Waller. Like every play,
Replay.
just I am only going to throw it to Darren Waller. It, like the graphic that came up where it's like they're like Darren Waller's having a heck of a game. It's like he's got 20 targets and 10
10 catches.
catches.
Yeah, 50% completion percentage. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with your analysis there, ESPN, but yeah. And then accompany that with the fact that Josh Jacobs is still getting into the game when he literally can't play. He can't play and he's getting into the game. I love Josh Jacobs. He's so injured. He's like he gets one snap and then
He's
needs to
limping
come off
on
the
and off
field.
the field. Yeah. And,
What?
and John Gruden like, yeah, he's a great decoy. It's like, yeah, no. Like, do you think the other team isn't paying attention to him hobbling off the field in between every play? Like, I just don't get it. And then it seems like they just tried every play to get Kenyon Drake off the field, where it's like, all right, yep, all right, Josh has been off the field for one play. He could go back out there now. He's good. Like, no, he's not. Just leave Kenyon Drake out there. It
Yeah.
didn't make any sense with that.
Yeah. So my final score prediction for the game was 30-24 Raiders. We got 33 to 27 instead. I have to say a few things went a little differently than I thought it would. Like I said that I thought it maybe I picked the Raiders because I thought maybe this running game will be hurt and it'll slow down the offense just enough that the Raiders can outscore them. I would
Hmm.
say that wasn't completely invalid because the Ravens did change what they did on offense.
Oh
They
yeah,
like to run read options a
I,
lot.
I was gonna bring
Like
that up too.
like
Lamar
30
didn't.
to 40% of the game. There were only like 2, maybe 3 plays that were designed read options
Hmm.
and it was like, man, they just really must not trust Tyson Williams. Williams,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
Tyson Williams.
yeah, they must not trust him to take the handoff. And obviously, the one time they ran a read option, Lamar pulled it, and then the ball ended up on the dirt. So I mean, I guess that changed the offense a little. But really, the thing in the end that actually made them lose this game was the fact that Marcus Peters was gone. I didn't think it would be that way, but by the end of the game, I thought it was interesting. The only guy they hadn't picked on was Marlon Humphrey. And then right at the end of the game, there were some key moments where they still didn't really care about it being the only number one corner on the field. They just still went at the matchup because they liked the play they had drawn up, even though Marlon Humphrey that was lined up from across from the guy. And I guess eventually he had to break down, and they just weren't able to do enough in coverage. Like the Brian Edwards play that got them to the 1 yard line is I don't think that play gets made against Marcus Peters. Um,
No,
I,
no,
don't-
it
and I
doesn't.
think a lot of the passing plays they had near the end of the game that weren't, even though Marlon Humphrey did get worked at the end of the game, like I mentioned, the plays that weren't against Marlon Humphrey could have been shut down by Marcus Peters, and they weren't. So I was really surprised that actually, even though I was also right about that because I was like, really, the main target for this offense will be like Darren Waller, right? I said
Hmm.
that, and he got 20 targets. But the actual reason they lost is because they were able to hit the receivers where Marcus Peters wasn't there. Um,
Yeah.
this was a wild game. I don't know.
Mhm.
Do you have anything to say about the Ravens? Maybe.
Yeah, a couple things about the Ravens offense. I like that they lined Pat Ricard up in the slot. You know, every team can use a 300-pound slot receiver. Uh, just the lack of using read options. I think plays a big part. That is a majority of their offense, and it killed them because you can't trust the running back that's back there. I do like the way that they kind of like designed runs out of passes where they'd have Lamar run like bootlegs. And it's like, yeah, this is your one option here, and if he isn't open, just take off. So that was a nice way of designing it that Greg Roman adapted to during the game. But all of his rush yards primarily came off of him scrambling,
Yeah.
and I love it. It's been hearing it for the past 3 years. When are teams gonna figure out how to gonna stop Lamar Jackson? It's like you can't because he can do improvisational stuff like that, where he can just take off for a 40-yard gain because you're trying to stop this one thing, and he can just it. Well, the one play in particular I'm thinking of, he like juked out of a sack probably 6 times while still in the pocket and maneuvered his way out of that and then took off. It's you never seen that. It was wild.
Yeah. I have to say, I definitely saw some early season stuff from him. Wow, this is just different. Like you can tell an off season has happened because he's not the same player he was at the end of last year. I'll give him
Mhm.
one positive and one negative. What should I start with? Let me start with the negative. The jump pump fake into like a half arm pass is disgusting. I don't know if he started doing this during training camp or something, but when one of those eventually gets intercepted, because he didn't just do this once. This was like
Mhm.
something that he like did over and over again throughout the game. He pumped after like jumping, and then rather than like reloading his arm to throw again, he had like a half motion, and almost like if you watch it in at normal speed, it looks like he's basically shot putting the ball. Like it's
Yeah.
not good, and that's gonna end poorly eventually. It didn't tonight, so that was the bad thing. The good thing was, we kind of saw it in the playoffs a few times last year. He just threw some really bad interceptions, like deep balls that just did not go where he wanted them to go, where he wanted them to end up.
Yeah, just
And
sailing them straight to the safety.
and
Yeah.
tonight, I can't say that there was any deep ball he threw that looked too terrible. There was nothing that was like 50 yards down the field, really crazy deep, but like 35 to 40-yard range. I think he threw a few of those, and both of the at least two of those looked good to me. So I mean that was a good upgrade. But yeah, I'm not gonna say this game was lost by Lamar Jackson at all.
No, it was not. He had a great game. Greg Roman just needs to know that when you have week one Sammy Watkins, you have week one Sammy Watkins. You need to utilize him to the fullest extent. And I mean, he figured it out close to the end. I think Sammy did finish with 100 receiving yards at the end of the game.
Yeah,
Uh, but that's 3 times less than the amount he should have. Uh, in week one at least.
three times less. That's interesting math. Three times less. I don't even know how that like I don't know how I would do that if that were a word problem. Like if I was just told somebody has three times less something, that'd be interesting.
That's
But
why I'm here
besides the
talking
point.
football. I'm not a math teacher.
Besides the point. Besides the point. I'm sorry. I am getting us off track. Um, as for the Ravens defense, I mean, both defenses actually, man, there were some good hits tonight. Both defenses were
Oh yeah.
ready to play in terms of just like the toughness and like it just grittiness of like actual hits. And like none of the hits were illegal either, which made it even better. They just, these
Uh,
guys just
there
decking
was
people.
one illegal use of hands to the face, baby.
That's what we like to see though. We love to see that called once a game. Um, Yeah, so I mean, I can't complain about physicality at all. Both of the teams look good. We hit on John Gruden. Just the reason that like the Raiders are so like pick the Raiders in this game to win, but also the Raiders are low in my power rankings, and it's like I'm glad that even though they won this week, I can point to all that crappy decision making and say, yeah, that's why they started there at least because there's still some gross calls, but gotta give them credit. They got the
Oh
win.
yeah.
Um, man, there's so much stuff from this game, but do you feel like we missed anything major?
I'm just trying to rattle through. Patrick Queen looked really good,
Oh yeah,
but you just covered that as a whole, saying that the Ravens defense looked great. Uh, Raiders secondary surprised me with how well they were to keep up with those guys. Not that the Ravens offense does a lot of throwing the ball, but Trayvon Morig, I mean, he didn't look bad. So, I mean, he had a couple pass breakups, couple nice tackles, so I'll give him that. Uh yeah, I really like what the Raiders did. Just we're going for matchups and we're going to avoid Marlon Humphrey for a majority of the game until
Till
right
he's
at the end, and then
exhausted. Once he's exhausted,
yes,
then we can attack
until he's
whoever.
exhausted, then we're going to make sure he lines up on Hunter Renfro so we can hit Brian Edwards. Which is like John Gruden, as for all of his eccentricities and weirdness that he is, he does do some pretty smart stuff, and that's one of them where it's like we're just gonna wear out their number one corner and then like go to Hunter Renfro 3 consecutive plays basically. So it's like, oh well, we got to cover him because and it's third and Renfro, so we got to cover him. And it's like, yeah, that's what you thought, and it just hit Brian Edwards because they don't have anyone else in that secondary. But even saying that they didn't have anyone in that secondary, the guys that filled in did pretty good for not being Marcus Peters.
Yeah, I mean,
The drop
it's
off is still
tough.
the drop off is significant,
It's tough. You're right.
obviously.
They did well, but if Peters is in there, it changes so much of the
Oh yeah, if
game.
Peters is in there, the Raiders don't win this game. It,
Yeah.
it's it's just simple as that. But like without him being there for some guys, there it's like their first like actual live game action getting in there. They held up pretty well. I'm not gonna complain when you're like having to go back and forth covering Darren Waller, trying to keep up with Henry Ruggs, and then dealing with Hunter Renfro's route running, and then the menace that is Zay Jones.
Yeah,
Like
I just really wish I could understand how they're substituting receivers. Cuz it's like Ruggs,
there was so much 12 personnel where Zay Jones was the only receiver on the field, and I was losing my mind watching it.
12 or 2022.
12. It was 12 personnel, and Zay Jones was the only receiver.
Well, one back, two tight ends. So there'd be two
Oh,
receivers.
okay, then so it was 22 then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, they're weird. No one else lines up in 22 personnel except for the 2021 Oakland Raiders. Nobody's doing that nowadays. So I mean,
John
it's not.
Gruden still thinks it's 2002.
I know. It's also past midnight and a school night. So I mean, there's no way that we're speaking fluently right now, anyways. But yeah, no. Yeah, I don't get it at all. I wish I could understand like who the like Raiders actually think is the number one guy, but like I forgot Willie Snead was on the
It's
team until the third and goal one that just shoots through his arms. So yeah, it's so weird how they substitute guys. Oh, although I will say I actually kind of like their heavy sets because I really do like most like their three tight ends and Alec Ingold is a good fullback.
second play of the game. Gruden line or motion him out wide or had him motion out wide. That was amazing. I'm like, yes, John Gruden is the only guy that would do anything like that. And then going back to what I said about Pat Ricard lining up in the slot, I'm just like, yeah, John Harbaugh is the only guy that would have this 300-pound fullback line up in the slot. It's
You're
just,
wrong, but Belichick will totally do that.
yeah, but Belichick doesn't have a 300-pound tight end on roster.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's hard to compete with. I mean, who's gonna cover him? Nobody's got the size on him.
Yeah, send out Max Crosby to cover Pat Ricard out there, then watch him get killed on a whip route.
Oh Lord, I would love to see that. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that was just about as great of a Monday night opener as I think we could have gotten. I'm happy I
That's
picked
some
the
of the best
Raiders.
football. Uh,
I'm
did
really,
you go 600 or did you go 500 then with this last game? Did that help you?
jeez. I'll have to look. I doubt it. I'll tell you right now, I'll doubt it. But we'll get back to you guys with that. For our preview show next week, we'll update our records, see how we did this week. Um, yeah, you all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.